Hey everybody, it's Brandon, the Weekend Cruiser, where I go on a weekend cruise just about every weekend, and I wanted to do an update for you all. So one of the videos that's done really well on the site has not been about cruising at all, but has been about the Brightline train option here in South Florida. And so if you are considering this, number one, make sure you're checking out the initial video. That is a deep dive into the entire experience. Brightline is a really nice train and really nice service. So make sure that you do check that out so that if you're going to go on it, you're going to have the best experience possible. However, one of the shortcomings of the last video is they didn't have the Port of Miami shuttle van going just yet. And so as promised in that video, once the van or the shuttle started back up again, I would try it out again and see if, does my opinion change any now that they have the Port Miami shuttle running or not? So stay tuned to the end. I'll give you my overall thoughts, see if I've kind of changed my mentality on it. But again, really love the experience, and if you're trying to save some money, Brightline is a great option to do that. I know a lot of the cruisers out there enjoy saving a penny, and this is a fantastic option. Now, I'm only going to be talking about Brightline and ride shares compared to parking. I am not going to be talking about the Tri-Rail here in South Florida, which is another local commuter train, if you will, or local bus service. If you are local to this area and you are familiar with those services and you still choose to take them, that is absolutely fine. They will save you a lot more money. But I just think that that's something that, a more local person would want to take versus a tourist that's coming in who may be unfamiliar with those products and those services. So since the last video, Brightline has rolled out numerous shuttle services from not only the Miami station, but also the Fort Lauderdale station. So Fort Lauderdale station now has service to Fort Lauderdale Airport as well as to Port Everglades. So if you're going on a cruise out of Fort Lauderdale, now you also have a shuttle option from the Brightline station in Fort Lauderdale to get you over there as well. In Miami, they have a few different options. The first is, of course, my favorite, the Port Miami option. So if you're going over to the port, you would take this shuttle. You're also going to have a shuttle to Miami Beach that is going to make 3 different stops once you're over there. And then you're also going to have sporting events. So if you're looking at going to a Miami Heat or a Marlins baseball game, you can also take the Brightline shuttle service directly to those individual places. Now, I'm going to be talking about my experience on the Marlin shuttle, so I have taken that one at this point, as well as my experience now on the Port Miami shuttle that I just took this past weekend. So why don't we dive on in and I'll let you know how those experiences kind of went. The Marlin shuttle service is one that I took about a month ago, and this was a very easy process. So when you get to the Miami stadium, you're simply just going to walk outside and you're going to see all the shuttle vans and shuttle services lined up there. If you are in a private car, for instance, you're going to have a text message letting you know where you need to go to. But if you're on one of the shuttle services, you're just going to look for the side of that shuttle and see where it is going. In the case of the Marlins, they have smaller vans as well. As this last time I was here, there was an entire charter bus that they were sending over with the people that were going to the Marlins game. So they are prepared for a large number of people. You don't have to tell them that you're going to the Marlins game as long as you are booking a ticket that is a home run train. So that is what they have dubbed the trains that are running the shuttle service afterwards. So if you see the Marlins logo beside of the ticket and it says home run, that's going to let you know that that is going to be eligible for the shuttle service to the game that you are going to, whether it be the Marlins or the Miami Heat. The good news with this service is it is also return service back to the station. Now, this is going to commit you to staying for a good chunk of the game. The shuttle return service does not start running till the game gets close to an end and has then concluded to bring you back to the station. So it is a bit of a commitment, but it's still a round-trip service, and there is no additional cost for the shuttle service. That takes you to these individual events. The Port Miami shuttle is a little bit different in the respect that it will get you to Port Miami. So when you walk outside of the train station in Miami, or maybe you're in Fort Lauderdale going to Port Everglades, you're going to walk outside and you're going to look for the Port Miami or Port Everglades shuttle. Now, this shuttle will take you directly over to the port. Luckily, they've taken out one of the seats in the back of the shuttle van, and there's plenty of space for luggage. They know if people are going there, they probably packed a few different outfits that they want to have with them, so they do have plenty of space for your luggage in the shuttle, and it's then going to take you directly over to Port Miami. The shuttle is going to leave about 10 minutes after the train comes into the station. So don't feel like you have to rush to get down there. There is time for you to use a bathroom break if you want to take one of these shuttles before they start to leave. And you also, for the Port Miami shuttle, still do not need to tell them you are going to the port. So when you book your ticket, these are not going to be designated in any special way. You're not going to see Port Miami shuttles offered. You just need to know that once you get there, that it will be an option within the times that those cruise ships are running. So, for instance, cruise ships don't leave normally or allow passengers on after 5 o'clock, so they're probably not going to be running the shuttle at that point. But prior to that, they will be running the shuttles. That will get you over to Port Miami once you get off the train. Now, it is going to start at the Terminal A. The Royal Caribbean Terminal will be its first stop, and it's going to work its way back, so all the way to Terminal V for Virgin voyages. So depending on which cruise line you're on will dictate the order of when you're going to get dropped off. I would just recommend that you pack your suitcase in the back of the van per when you're probably going to wind up getting off. When I went, there was a few folks on Carnival and then a few folks on Virgin, so there really wasn't that terribly many bags, but if you have a full van, it might just be something you want to think through. Now, let's do a cost comparison of, how do you save money? I know cruisers love to save money, and so I think Brightline is a great option to help you do that. So let's break it down in 3 different ways. The most expensive option is clearly going to be parking at Port Miami, not a cheap feat. The second option is going to be taking a rideshare service such as Uber or Lyft. And then the third option, the cheapest of these options, is going to be to take Brightline. And so I'm going to break down what the different costs are for these specific ways. So if you're looking at taking a car into Port Miami and you park for Royal Caribbean, I know a lot of you are loyal to Royal like I am. It's going to cost you a little bit more money. Terminal A is the most expensive. So if it is 6 nights or more, it's going to cost you $25. If it is 5 nights and under, it's going to cost you $28 per day. So for a 7-night cruise, that's going to come out to $175. And for a weekend trip, that's going to come out to $84. If you are parking at the other terminals, it's going to be $22 a day or $154 for a 7-night cruise and $66 for a weekend trip. Don't forget that when you drive, if you're taking in the true amount of the cost, you also need to factor in how much gas you're going to use and depreciation of your car. Those are also additional factors that would drive this expensive number even higher. So the next cheapest option is going to be if you want to take the Uber or rideshare service from my house. I did, a quick cost comparison when the shuttle was picking me up from my house to take me to the Fort Lauderdale station. It was running at $48. I have the Uber One Pass on my account, so that's why you see a discounted rate, because I pay extra money to get a cheaper Uber. But for the traditional folks, it's going to run you about $48 if I was to take it from my house directly to Port Miami. If I was to do this from West Palm, so I know that the location of where you're coming from is also going to change the numbers a lot in this. So an Uber at that time for West Palm going all the way to Port Miami was $85 if you are making the full journey. Now, again, keep in mind, if you're going on a cruise, you're going to have a lot of suitcases, and if you are a larger party, you're going to need to upgrade your Uber. So you may need to get an Uber XL so that a Suburban or a van picks you up that can accommodate extra people and all those suitcases. Here in South Florida, we have some really teeny cars that will pick you up, and they may not be able to hold all of your suitcases, and I'd hate to see your driver have to turn you away but still charge you because you called the wrong style of Uber. Brightline is going to be the cheapest of these options. But keep in mind, Brightline differs from the other services we just talked about because those are going to be a fixed expense. So regardless if you have 2 or 3 people in the car, it's going to cost you the same thing. Brightline is going to be different on the math, so you're going to have to pay this charge for each person that comes with you on Brightline. In my personal situation, I am a solo traveler a lot of times, solo cruiser, and so it is just me. So the cost for Brightline traditionally will make a little bit more sense than if I am paying for a family of 5 to also take the Brightline. So the ticket fare when I went was $22 is what I paid to get the fare from Fort Lauderdale station to the Miami station. Now with the new shuttle services running, they have decided to charge for the initial trip of $5 from my house to Fort Lauderdale station. So the total fare that I paid was $27. Keeping in mind that the second shuttle from Miami Station to Port Miami was a complimentary shuttle. But all in, I decided to pay $27. If you're looking at that is the smart fare, by the way. If you're looking at their premium fare, which is the one where you get access to their first class style lounge or premium lounge, and you also get to start drinking at the lounge and you get complimentary drinks on the trip. By the way, if you're going to a Marlins game, that's a huge deal to get to pregame before you go. You need to factor all those things into the price of the ticket. I personally don't drink, so the premium fare doesn't really do anything for me. But so that's why I went with the smart ticket at $22 and then just paid the extra $5. I then do tip the shuttle drivers a few dollars, so a total for me was around $31 to take Brightline, which as you can already see is much cheaper. But let's talk about how that math really plays out. So overall, parking is certainly the most expensive, and I'll do this for a 7-night cruise at $175. So if I was going to be saving money by taking Brightline on this, and it was just me, that would save me $144 compared to parking at the station, plus all the savings I get from gas as well as the depreciation of the car. If I decided to take Uber, it's going to save me not as much money. So again, it was $48 from my house, which is a cost of $17. Or if I would have been coming from West Palm, it would have been a savings of $54 with the increased journey that comes from going to West Palm. Now, overall, my opinion doesn't really change that much from having this new service. I thought that it would, and look, Brightline was a really nice experience. I enjoyed taking Brightline, but there's a lot of variables that are going to happen. I have a shuttle from my house to the train. The train has to go, and my train did run delayed by about 30 minutes. The gates and fare crossings weren't working, and so we had a reduction in speed for majority of my train trip. So we got there about 30 minutes late, and then you have the next shuttle that you need to take. The shuttle services went fine. The train, in this case, did run delayed, but it's saving me $17 from being able to take an Uber from my house directly to Port Miami. Not to mention the timing of taking an Uber. It's going to take you about 45 minutes in the car to go to Port Miami from my house. But by taking the train, it took me about 2.5 hours to get there, which is just delayed time to start my vacation. So if I can take out some of the variables that something may go wrong, start my vacation sooner, and it's only $17, that's the option I'm going to choose. However, if you are coming from a longer distance, West Palm, Brightline makes a lot more sense. If you are coming from further north, I would highly encourage you to look at Brightline. I think it's a wonderful option as long as you're not really a family of 5. If you have more people going, it's clearly not going to make as much financial sense. Or maybe you're just one of those people that just wants to really save a lot of money and you don't see the value in taking an Uber. You're fine, saving the $17 or however much it may be because you still get to save the money, and that is absolutely fine. Brightline is always going to be the cheaper option for you, and I would encourage you to absolutely take it. It is a great experience, just takes a little bit longer. All right, everybody, this is Brandon, the Weekend Cruiser, hoping to see you getting to Port Miami or Port Everglades safely and saving money on a weekend cruise soon.